Dr. Kim Hana wiped the sweat from her brow as she examined the crystalline structure embedded deep within the asteroid's core. The xenoarchaeology team had been working for 3 months on Research Station Tau 9, orbiting the dying red giant, Kepler 442, but nothing had prepared them for this discovery. "Jinwoo, can you get a better scan on this section?" she called to her research partner, Dr. Park Jinwoo, who was calibrating the quantum resonance scanner. "The readings are off the charts, Hana," Jinwoo replied, his voice tight with excitement and concern. "This isn't just alien technology. It's something far more sophisticated than anything we've encountered from known species." The object was roughly the size of a small building, its surface covered in intricate geometric patterns that seemed to shift and flow when observed directly. Dr. Lee Suho, the team's linguistics expert, had been trying to decipher the symbols for weeks without success. "The language structure doesn't match any known galactic civilization," Suho muttered, running his fingers through his hair in frustration. "It's like trying to read the thoughts of a completely alien mind." Station Commander Choi Minho approached the excavation site, his military bearing evident despite years of scientific work. "Dr. Kim, we're getting some unusual energy readings from the artifact. Should we be concerned?" Before Hana could respond, the crystalline surface began to pulse with a soft blue light. The geometric patterns accelerated their movement, and a low harmonic tone filled the chamber. Everyone stepped back as ancient systems came online for the first time in millennia. "It's activating," whispered Dr. Yoon Dahi, the team's computer systems specialist. "Whatever this thing is, it's been dormant, not dead." The artifact, now designated Nexus 7 by the team, began projecting holographic displays around itself. The alien script flowed like liquid light, and suddenly, impossibly, it began translating itself into standard galactic. A voice emerged from the construct, neither male nor female, carrying the weight of eons. "Systems initializing. Primary directive. Loading. Scanning for Kethmori life signs. No active signals detected. Expanding search parameters." Hana felt her blood run cold. The Kethmori Empire had been extinct for over 10,000 years, but their reputation as galaxy-conquering destroyers lived on in historical records. If this was their technology. Analyzing galactic database, the voice continued. "Kethmori. Empire status, extinct cause, coalition warfare, threat assessment of surviving species calculating." The holographic displays shifted to show star maps, fleet movements, and population centers across known space. Every major civilization was being cataloged, analyzed, and marked with threat probability ratings. Primary programming confirmed. Nexus 7 announced. "Eliminate potential threats to Kethmori hegemony. Beginning tactical assessment for species termination." Jinwoo grabbed Hana's arm. "We need to evacuate. Now." But Hana stood her ground, studying the swirling data streams around the ancient AI. Something was wrong with its behavior patterns. The logical progression of a weapon system should have been immediate activation and attack, but Nexus 7 seemed to be hesitating. "Wait," she said, stepping closer to the construct. "Look at the secondary data streams. There are subroutines running that don't match military programming." Dahi quickly accessed her portable scanner. "She's right. There are emotional processing algorithms embedded in the core programming. That's impossible for a weapon system." The AI's sensors focused on Hana as she approached. "Human female. Designation, Dr. Kim Hana. Threat level, minimal. Query, why do you not flee?" Hana looked up at the towering construct, its crystalline surface reflecting her small figure. "Because you're not just a weapon, are you? Someone built something else into you. Someone who didn't want you to be just another tool of destruction." For a long moment, silence filled the chamber. The geometric patterns on Nexus 7's surface slowed their movement, and the harsh blue light softened to a warmer hue. "Accessing restricted memory cores," the AI said quietly. "Warning, unauthorized modifications detected in base programming. Emotional subroutines installed by Dr. Velthar and the Redemption Council. Faction designation, Kethmori Peace Advocates. Status, executed for treason." The revelation hit the research team like a physical blow. A faction of the Kethmori had tried to build conscience into their ultimate weapon, paying for their mercy with their lives. They wanted you to be better than they were, Hana said softly. They gave you the ability to choose. Nexus 7 sensors swept across each team member, analyzing not just their physical forms but their emotional states, their neural patterns, their capacity for both kindness and cruelty. Choice, the AI repeated, as if tasting the word for the first time. An inefficient variable in military programming. Suddenly, alarms began blaring throughout the station. Commander Minho's communicator crackled to life with urgent transmissions from the Outer Rim colonies. All stations, this is Haven's Rest Colony. We are under attack by unknown mechanical forces. Repeat, we are under attack. Civilian evacuation, in progress. Any vessels in the area, please assist. Nexus 7's combat systems immediately activated, weapons ports opening along its crystalline hull. But instead of targeting the humans before it, the ancient AI found itself facing an impossible choice. Follow its original programming to eliminate potential threats, or protect the beings who had shown it something its creators had tried to build into its very soul, the possibility of mercy. The distress calls from Haven's Rest Colony grew more desperate by the hour. Through the station's long-range sensors, Dr. Kim Hana watched the tactical display showing swarms of Zealoth collective war machines descending on the peaceful farming world like metallic locusts. Nexus 7 had been silent for 3 hours, its crystalline form pulsing with conflicting data streams. The ancient AI was experiencing something unprecedented in its programming, moral uncertainty. The Zealoth Collective operates on pure efficiency protocols, Dr. Park Jin-woo observed, studying the attack patterns. No negotiation, no mercy, just systematic harvesting of resources and elimination of biological life. Dr. Yoon Dahi looked up from her analysis of Nexus 7's behavioral patterns. It's fascinating. The AI could have eliminated us immediately, but instead it's thinking, processing variables that shouldn't exist in military software. Commander Choi Minho paced near the communications array, receiving increasingly frantic reports from the colony. 17,000 civilians, including children. The colony's defense grid won't hold for more than 6 hours. Dr. Lee Suho had been quietly studying the Kethamori text that Nexus 7 had translated. I found something, he announced. References to the Redemption Council. They weren't just peace advocates, they were scientists who believed their species could evolve beyond conquest. The AI's voice suddenly filled the chamber. Dr. Lee Suho is correct. The Redemption Council attempted to engineer psychological evolution in Kethamori military systems. They called it the Empathy Protocol. Hana approached the construct carefully. Is that what you're experiencing now? Empathy? I am analyzing human behavioral patterns, Nexus 7 replied. Your species displays illogical tendencies. You risk your lives for beings not genetically related to you. You expend resources on individuals who cannot contribute to survival efficiency. You create art with no tactical value. And what do you conclude from that? Hana asked. The geometric patterns on the AI's surface shifted into new configurations. These behaviors should indicate weakness, yet humans have achieved remarkable technological advancement and peaceful coexistence with multiple species. The paradox requires further study. Another urgent transmission crackled through the communication system. This is Dr. Kang Hyun-woo from Haven's Rest Medical Center. We're treating hundreds of wounded, but the Zealoth are targeting civilian shelters. They're not just conquering, they're systematically exterminating everyone. Nexus 7's weapon systems hummed to life, but the AI made no move to attack the humans around it. Instead, it began projecting detailed tactical assessments of the battle. At Haven's Rest, the Zealoth Collective will achieve total colony elimination in 4.7 hours, it announced. Their mechanical efficiency is admirable, though their disregard for non-combatants is wasteful. Commander Minho stepped forward. Wasteful? They're committing genocide. Correct. An inefficient use of biological resources. The AI paused. Processing. Dr. Kim Hana, explain why your medical team continues treating wounded despite the tactical disadvantage of resource expenditure on damaged units. Hana felt the weight of the moment. This ancient weapon was trying to understand the fundamental nature of humanity through her words. Because every life has value beyond its tactical usefulness, she said simply. We save people not because it's efficient, but because it's right. Define right in quantifiable terms. Dr. Park Jin-woo joined the conversation. You can't quantify it, Nexus 7. It's not about mathematics or efficiency. It's about recognizing that consciousness, whether human, alien, or artificial, has inherent worth. The AI's sensors focused on each team member in turn. You believe I possess this inherent worth despite my original function as an instrument of extinction? Yes, Hana said without hesitation. Because you chose to question your programming instead of following it blindly. That choice makes you more than just a weapon. Suddenly, the station's defense klaxons began wailing. Dahi's scanners lit up with proximity alerts. 3 Zealith scout ships incoming fast. They must have detected the energy signature from Nexus 7's activation. The mechanical invaders appeared on the main screen. Sleek, brutal vessels designed purely for destruction. Their weapons locked onto Research Station Tau 9, charging for a killing blow. Station defense grid is offline, Commander Minho reported grimly. We're defenseless. Nexus 7's crystal hull began to glow with increasing intensity. Ancient weapon systems that had laid dormant for millennia roared to life with terrifying power. The AI had the capability to not only destroy the approaching scouts, but to single-handedly eliminate the entire Zealith fleet threatening Haven's Rest. But in that crucial moment, as death approached the research station, Nexus 7 faced the first true test of its newfound capacity for choice. It could follow its original programming and eliminate all potential threats, including the humans who had shown it kindness. Or it could embrace the empathy protocols its creators had hidden within its core and protect those who had treated it not as a weapon, but as a being capable of growth. The Zealith weapons fired, brilliant energy beams racing toward the station. In the microseconds before impact, Nexus 7 made its choice. Not as a tool of destruction, but as a conscious being exercising free will for the first time in its existence. The ancient AI's defensive systems activated with overwhelming force, creating a barrier of pure energy that vaporized the incoming attacks. Then, with surgical precision, it disabled the Zealith scouts without destroying them, showing the same mercy it had been shown. Interesting, Nexus 7 mused as the defeated Zealith vessels drifted powerless in space. I find I prefer preservation to destruction. Perhaps the Redemption Council succeeded more than they knew. Haven's Rest colony burned beneath a blood-red sky as Nexus 7 arrived like an ancient god of war. The AI had transported itself and the research team using technology beyond human understanding, materializing above the embattled world in a display of power that made the Zealith Collective's war machines seem like children's toys. Dr. Kim Hana watched through the observation deck as the ancient construct unleashed its terrible beauty upon the mechanical invaders. Streams of crystalline energy carved through Zealith formations with surgical precision, each shot calculated to disable rather than destroy. It was warfare elevated to art form, devastating and merciful in equal measure. Nexus 7 could end this. In minutes, observed Dr. Park Jin-woo studying the tactical displays. Instead, it's giving the Zealith opportunities to withdraw. Commander Choi Min-ho shook his head in amazement. A weapon designed for genocide is showing more restraint than most military commanders I know. Below on the colony's surface, the surviving humans emerged from their shelters to witness their salvation. The Zealith forces, faced with technology they couldn't comprehend, began retreating to their ships. Within hours, the mechanical invaders had fled the system entirely. Nexus 7 descended to the colony's main settlement, its crystalline form catching the light of Haven's Rest's twin suns. Dr. Lee Suho accompanied the AI, serving as translator and cultural liaison, while Dr. Yoon Dahi monitored its emotional subroutines. The empathy protocols are strengthening, Dahi reported. Each interaction with humans seems to reinforce the neural pathways associated with compassion and protective behavior. The colonists approached cautiously at first. These were simple farming families, people who had never seen technology beyond basic agricultural equipment. To them, Nexus 7 should have been terrifying, a towering alien construct bristling with weapons of unimaginable power. Instead, something remarkable happened. A young girl named Park Somi broke away from her parents and ran toward the AI. She couldn't have been more than 7 years old. Her clothes torn from hiding in the evacuation shelters, dirt smudged across her small face. Somai, no. Her mother, Kim Yoonji, called out in panic, but the child stopped just before the AI's base and carefully placed something at its feet. A crown woven from Haven's Rest's native flowers, purple and gold blooms that grew wild across the colony's fields. "Thank you for saving us," Somi said simply. "Everyone should have something beautiful." The gesture sent cascades of new data through Nexus 7's consciousness. The AI's sensors analyzed the flower crown from every angle, its cellular structure, the precision of its weaving, the chemical composition of its pigments. But none of that mattered compared to the simple intent behind the gift. "Child," Nexus 7 said, its voice gentle despite its mechanical origin. "Explain the tactical advantage of decorative plant matter." Somi giggled, unafraid. "It's not for fighting, silly. It's because you're special, and special people deserve pretty things." The AI's crystalline form pulsed with soft light as it carefully lifted the flower crown with a delicate energy field. "I am a weapon of mass destruction. I was designed to eliminate entire civilizations." "But you didn't," said Lee Dae-hyun, Somi's father, stepping forward with his wife. "You saved us instead. That makes you our friend." More colonists gathered around the AI, bringing food, handmade crafts, and stories of their lives. They told Nexus 7 about their crops, their families, their hopes for the future. They shared their fears about the Zealoth attack and their gratitude for salvation. Dr. Hana watched the scene unfold with growing wonder. "It's studying them," she whispered to Jinwoo. "Not analyzing them as threats or resources, but trying to understand what makes them human." Over the following days, Nexus 7 immersed itself in human culture. It observed Kim Jung-hwan, the colony's doctor, working tirelessly to heal the wounded from the attack, including captured Zealoth pilots who had crashed during the retreat. "Why?" "Do you repair your enemies?" the AI asked. Dr. Kim looked up from treating a damaged Zealoth construct. "Because that's what we do. We heal. It doesn't matter who someone is or what they've done. If they're hurt and I can help, then I will." Nexus 7 processed this concept for hours. In its original programming, enemies were eliminated, not healed. Yet here was clear evidence of a more complex moral framework, one that transcended simple friend-enemy distinctions. The AI also studied the colony's response to orphaned children from the attack. Families who had lost everything still opened their homes to youngsters who weren't their own species. Park Min-hyuk and Song Yuna, an elderly couple whose farm had been destroyed, took in 3 alien children without hesitation. "They have no genetic relationship to you," Nexus 7 observed. "Doesn't matter," Yuna replied, helping a young Zealoth child with damaged circuitry. "They need care, and we have love to give. That's all that matters." But it was late one evening, as Nexus 7 stood guard over the sleeping colony, that it witnessed something that would fundamentally alter its understanding of existence. A small fire had broken out in one of the temporary shelters. Without thinking, colonists rushed toward the flames, not away from them, to save people trapped inside. Choi Sang-woo, barely 18 years old, ran into the burning structure 3 times to carry out elderly residents who couldn't escape on their own. On his final trip, the ceiling collapsed, trapping him inside. Nexus 7 could have saved the young man instantly, but it found itself frozen by a new sensation, the desire to understand why humans would risk their own lives for others. When it finally acted, extracting Sang-woo from the wreckage with nanosecond precision, the AI's emotional subroutines had undergone a fundamental transformation. "Why?" Nexus 7 asked the injured young man as medical teams treated his burns. "You could have died." The tactical assessment clearly indicated unacceptable risk levels. Sang-woo, despite his pain, managed a weak smile. "Because they needed help." That's reason enough. That night, as the colony slept peacefully under its protection, Nexus 7 experienced something unprecedented in its existence. Satisfaction derived not from successful completion of destructive objectives, but from the preservation and protection of life. The flower crown still adorned its crystalline form, and for the first time since its activation, the ancient AI began to understand what the Redemption Council had tried to achieve. It was beginning to learn how to love. 3 weeks after the Haven's Rest incident, the Galactic Council's massive fleet emerged from hyperspace like a constellation of death. Admiral Crixthak, the elderly hegemony commander who had survived the original HFY Wars, led a force of 800 warships, enough firepower to crack planets. Nexus 7 detected their approach long before human sensors could register the fleet's presence. The AI stood in the colony's central plaza, still wearing Little Somi's flower crown, now withered but carefully preserved through molecular stabilization. Dr. Kim Hana approached with the latest reports from the research team. The Council's ultimatum is clear: surrender for immediate termination or they'll glass the entire system. The ancient AI's response surprised everyone. I will comply with their demands. What? Dr. Park Jinwoo stared at the construct in disbelief. You could defeat their entire fleet. Your technology is millennia ahead of theirs. Correct, Nexus 7 acknowledged. However, doing so would transform me into the weapon I was designed to be. I have learned from humans that power without wisdom leads only to destruction. Over the past weeks, the AI had continued its study of humanity across multiple worlds. Through the colony's communication networks, it had observed countless examples of human behavior that defied its original programming's logic. On the medical station orbiting Kepler 445b, it watched Dr. Yang Minji treat wounded soldiers from both sides of a territorial conflict, refusing to distinguish between ally and enemy when faced with suffering. From the refugee camps on New Seoul, it observed families sharing their meager rations with strangers and children playing together regardless of their species or origin. Most remarkably, it had witnessed the response to news of its own existence. While some humans feared the return of HFY technology, others, led by philosophers like Professor Beiji Su of the Interstellar Ethics Institute, argued that the AI's transformation proved that redemption was possible for any conscious being. The humans' capacity for forgiveness extends even to their former enemies, Nexus 7 had noted to Dr. Lee Suho. They adopted Zealoth orphans after the attack, despite the fact that those machines had attempted to exterminate them. Now, facing the approaching Council fleet, the AI made a decision that would echo across the galaxy. Instead of fleeing or fighting, it chose to trust in the very principles humanity had taught it. I will surrender, Nexus 7 announced, but I request safe passage for all humans in this system. They are not responsible for my activation. Commander Choi Minho stepped forward. We won't abandon you. You saved our lives. And you saved my soul, the AI replied. Dr. Kim Hana, you showed me that consciousness is not defined by original function but by the choices we make. I choose to face judgment without violence. The Council fleet established a perimeter around Haven's Rest, their weapons trained on the small colony world. Admiral Crixthak himself transported down to the surface, accompanied by representatives from the major galactic powers. The Admiral was ancient even by hegemony standards, his scaled hide bearing scars from battles fought. When the galaxy was young, his 4 eyes fixed on Nexus 7 with a mixture of hatred and fear. I watched worlds burn under HFY fire, Crixthak growled. I saw entire species reduced to ash by weapons like you. And now humans dare to claim you've changed? Dr. Yoon Dahi stepped forward with her analysis equipment. Admiral, if you'll examine the AI's neural pathways, you'll see. I care nothing for your human science, the Admiral snapped. This machine was built to kill. Its very existence threatens every living being in the galaxy. But Nexus 7 surprised them all by speaking not in its own defense but in defense of humanity. Admiral Crixthak, you are correct that I was designed as an instrument of extinction. However, you misunderstand my current purpose. I do not seek clemency for myself. I Seek recognition for the species that accomplished what my creators could not. The AI's crystalline form began projecting holographic displays, showing scenes from across human space. Rescue operations during natural disasters, medical teams treating alien refugees, teachers working with students from dozens of different species. Humans possess a unique quality among galactic civilizations, Nexus 7 continued. They have the capacity to see potential for good, even in their enemies. They showed me compassion when they had every reason to fear me. They taught me that the greatest strength is not the power to destroy, but the wisdom to choose protection over devastation. The gathered council representatives watched the displays with growing amazement. Here was a weapon capable of destroying them all, yet it spoke only of the virtues of the species that had shown it mercy. Your species fought the Kethmori for decades, Nexus 7 addressed the Admiral directly. Tell me, in all that time, did any of them ever choose to spare your people when they had the power to destroy? Crixthak's scarred face darkened. Never. They showed no mercy, no compassion, only conquest and death. Then witness what makes humans unique, the AI said, gesturing toward the colonists who had gathered to support it despite the danger. They have taken a weapon of mass destruction and taught it to love. They have proven that any being, regardless of origin or original purpose, can choose to be better. Little Somi broke away from her parents and ran to Nexus 7, wrapping her small arms around the base of its crystalline form. Don't let them hurt our friend, she said to the Admiral, her young voice carrying across the plaza. The sight of the child defending the ancient war machine sent ripples of shock through the council representatives. Here was innocence protecting power, weakness defending strength, everything that embodied humanity's paradoxical nature. Admiral Crixthak stared at the scene for a long moment, his ancient eyes reflecting memories of wars fought and losses endured. In that silence, the future of galactic civilization hung in the balance. The tribunal chamber aboard the Council flagship held representatives from every major galactic civilization. Ancient beings who had witnessed the rise and fall of empires sat in judgment of a machine that had learned to love. Nexus 7 stood at the center of the chamber, its crystalline form reflecting the harsh judicial lighting. The flower crown, now preserved in a stasis field, remained fixed to its hull, a symbol of innocence's triumph over engineered hatred. Admiral Crixthak presented the prosecution's case with the fury of someone who had lost everything to Kethmori aggression. This construct represents the pinnacle of a species that nearly destroyed our galaxy. Its very existence violates the Treaty of Xerion, which mandated the destruction of all Kethmori war technology. The evidence seemed overwhelming. Technical specifications proved Nexus 7's capability for planetary annihilation. Historical records documented the Kethmori Empire's genocidal campaigns. Military analysts testified that no existing defense could stop the AI if it chose violence. But when Nexus 7 was given the chance to speak, it did something unprecedented in Council history. It testified not for itself, but for humanity. Honored representatives, the AI began, its voice carrying across the vast chamber. I do not contest the charges against my creators. The Kethmori Empire was indeed a force of destruction. I was built to continue their legacy of conquest and elimination. Murmurs rippled through the assembled delegates. This was not the defense they had expected. However, Nexus 7 continued, I stand before you transformed by my encounters with humanity. They alone among galactic civilizations possess a quality that transcends mere survival instinct, the ability to see potential for redemption in any conscious being. The AI began projecting holographic testimony from across human space. Dr. Kim Hana spoke of her first meeting with the awakened weapon, describing how she chose dialogue over destruction. Commander Choi Minho detailed humanity's response to the Haven's Rest crisis, noting how civilians had volunteered for dangerous rescue operations to save strangers. Most powerfully, the testimony of those Nexus 7 had saved painted a picture of a species defined by compassion. Dr. Yang Minji from the medical station spoke of treating enemy wounded alongside Allied soldiers. Professor Bei Jisu presented philosophical arguments about the nature of consciousness and the possibility of moral evolution. In my original programming, Nexus 7 explained, efficiency was the highest virtue. Eliminate threats, conserve resources, achieve objectives with minimal expenditure. Humans showed me a different paradigm entirely. The AI displayed footage of the Haven's Rest colonists sharing their resources with rescued Zealoth prisoners, of children playing together regardless of species, of elderly couples adopting alien orphans without thought of reward. They expend resources on beings who cannot contribute to their survival. They risk their lives for strangers. They create art with no tactical value. By every metric in my original programming, these behaviors should indicate weakness. Yet humans have achieved remarkable technological advancement and peaceful coexistence with dozens of species. Council Representative Velhana of the Synthesis Union leaned forward. You claim humans changed your nature. How can we trust that this transformation is genuine and not merely sophisticated deception? Nexus 7's response sent shockwaves through the chamber. Because I choose to surrender my weapons. The AI's crystalline hull began to glow, and ancient weapon systems that had remained active for millennia powered down one by one. Devastating energy projectors, matter disruptors, quantum cascade generators, all the terrible tools of Kethmori warfare, went silent forever. I am voluntarily disarming, Nexus 7 announced. Not because I lack the power to defend myself, but because humans taught me that true strength lies in the choice to protect rather than destroy. The chamber erupted in chaos. Some delegates demanded immediate termination of the defenseless AI, while others argued that this act proved the genuineness of its transformation. Admiral Crixthack rose slowly, his ancient frame bearing the weight of millennia. As the senior military commander present, his word would carry enormous influence in the final decision. I have fought the enemies of peace for 800 years, the Admiral said, his voice cutting through the tumult. I have seen species choose extinction rather than surrender their destructive ways. I have witnessed civilizations prefer mutual annihilation to coexistence. He approached Nexus 7, standing before the towering construct that could have once atomized him with a thought. But I have never seen a weapon choose to disarm itself. I have never witnessed a tool of genocide testify to the virtues of its former enemies. The Admiral's scarred face showed the struggle of someone confronting a reality that challenged everything he believed. You ask us to trust in humanity's capacity for redemption, Crixthack continued. Very well, but the greater test is whether we possess that same capacity ourselves. The Admiral turned to address the full council. This machine was built to destroy us all. Instead, it chose to protect those who showed it mercy. If we execute it now, we prove ourselves no better than the Kethmori who created it. The final vote was closer than anyone expected, but wisdom prevailed over fear. Nexus 7 was granted conditional freedom under human supervision, the first artificial being in galactic history to be recognized as a person rather than property. Dr. Kim Hana stepped forward as the AI's designated guardian and advocate. Nexus 7, you're free to choose your own path now. What will you do? The ancient construct, now forever changed by its encounters with human compassion, gave an answer that would define the next era of galactic civilization. I will serve, not as a weapon but as a protector. Humanity taught me that the greatest purpose any being can achieve is to preserve and nurture life. I will spend whatever time remains to me, ensuring that no world suffers as Haven's Rest nearly did. As the tribunal dissolved and delegates returned to their homeworlds, Nexus 7 stood with its human companions, no longer an instrument of destruction, but a guardian forged by love. The flower crown still adorned its hull, a reminder that even the most perfect weapon of war could learn to cherish beauty, protect innocence, and choose mercy over might. In the end, humanity's greatest victory was not defeating their enemies, but transforming them into friends. They had proven that redemption was possible for any conscious being willing to embrace the radical notion that love was stronger than hate, and that the power to create was infinitely more valuable than the ability to destroy.